Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Sorry, you can probably already hear I'm getting over a cold. I'm on the end, I'm fine. I just can hear myself and it sounds very nasally. But today we're gonna go see Last Night in Soho and I'm so excited. This film wasn't meant to come out until the 18th in Australia, but luckily I'm seeing it as part of the British Film Festival. And this is one I have not seen the trailer for, which I'm so excited about because I've been told the trailer does give away a lot. I don't know anything about this film. I do know it's directed by Edgar Wright, and he did Shaun of the Dead, Baby Driver, The World's End, and Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So he's got a good track record, but I mean, I don't know why. I just don't feel like this one's such a comedy, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I think it is. I know it's a horror mystery, but yes. I don't know if I'm wrong or not. People have told me the effects are amazing in this, and I know a lot of you have probably seen it by now, so I will keep this completely spoiler-free, but I may have a spoiler section at the very end. The film stars Thomasin McKenzie, who was from Old, and also, of course, Anya Taylor-Joy, who we all love. I'm seeing this one at a different cinema I don't think I've ever taken you to, which is the Windsor, which is a small, independent type older cinema. So let's go and check out Last Night in Soho. I'm so excited, finally. Let's go. Hi friends, I just got back from watching Last Night in Soho. Should we do the 3 words? Haunting, visceral, journey? Does that even make any sense? Okay, so this movie, I want to say it wasn't what I thought it was going to be like, but again, I didn't really know anything going in. So it's very, very interesting. In this movie, we follow Ellie, a fashion enthusiast who has just got a place in the fashion school in London. She moves from her small town in Cornwall to London. She's very inspired and excited about being in London, but finds quickly that she does not fit in with the crowd. But before long, Ellie does find a place that gives her exactly what she wants, the inspiration for her work, but it also tangles her into a web of darkness. Ellie is very obsessed with the 60s, and that has a lot to do with this film and how the mystery in it plays out. I loved the character of Ellie so much. I wanted to be her BFF. I haven't had a character in a movie, let alone a horror movie, in a long time that I really enjoyed and really got sucked into. So Thomasin McKenzie, for me, was a standout performance. I was surprised to learn that she was the lead and it wasn't Anya Taylor-Joy, although Anya Taylor-Joy is in majority of the film as well. Ellie is the lead character and the person that you follow. The film had a very interesting structure. It was almost like it was completely predictable, but at the same time, you had no idea where it was going, and if you've seen it, you probably know what I'm talking about. It just had a different opening, a different lead into the story, and it really takes its time introducing Ellie and really getting you to know her before any of the horror stuff hits, which I think is probably the second half of the movie. And I think it's really important to keep in mind that it is a mystery foremost, not just a horror, because the film does have a lot to do with the 60s, and Ellie's like obsessed with 60s fashion and 60s music. The soundtrack for this film is phenomenal. phenomenal and something that you'll be bopping along to. I love when horror movies take, you know, songs, iconic songs, and this one it's like Downtown and tracks like that, and really change the feeling of the song and make it scary. And I felt like the whole soundtrack I was just kind of like bobbing along to the whole time, even if it was meant to be scary. The stylization of this film is obviously gonna be a standout for most people. It is, you know, covered in neon signs and neon light. Lighting and reflections play a big role in this film, and the way they've done the camera work is very interesting and delicate. And there's always something in the background of each shot, which I thought was, you know, a lot of attention to detail, which I really liked. It's also attention to detail in the story itself, because it is a mystery, something is unraveling. So I do think that this film would be very interesting to watch for a second time, and I think you'll probably get just as much out of it the second time, although there are some big reveals. But in saying that, I did feel like a lot of the film was predictable, which is why it's so interesting, because I had no idea where they were taking us with Ellie. It was such a journey movie. We obviously moved to London with her. We experience her interacting with her peers, and then this thing that happens to her that, you know, really changes her outlook. And in doing so, it holds a mirror up to her family, and it has a lot to do with her mother. And also, it has a lot to do with Ellie's mental health. So these are pockets that are touched on throughout the mystery and throughout Ellie's journey. It's important for us to know who she is so we can understand why she's interacting or reacting in the way she is. And I think that was really well explained, but it was also very interesting because you weren't really sure which way it was going to go with a lot of these aspects. There was a lot thrown at you. In saying all of this, I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was a different and unique structure, and it's always nice to have a shake up, especially when it's taking you down in a pathway that you're not too sure where it's going. And me not seeing the trailer or not knowing anything about the film, I had no idea where it was going. But although I loved Ellie and it took time to really lead into the major themes of the movie and the mystery was very enticing, for me, I did not love the film. I wish that there was an underlining reason why I didn't absolutely love this film, but I just feel like it didn't give me the reveals that I really wanted, if I was to be nitpicky about it, but it just wasn't there for me. It didn't get to that next level. It's hard because I have to be nitpicky to express what I don't like about the film, but there's nothing really wrong with this film. I just didn't feel like it was as epic of reveals that I would have liked. Also, the special effects really towed the line for me. There was a lot of, as I said before, a lot of delicate work with the lighting and the camera work and different, you know, bits and pieces in the background. But in that, there was also the over stylization of a lot of the, you know, intense horror moments. And there are a lot of intense horror moments. And it just wasn't to my personal taste. I felt like it broke the wall and turned into kind of fantasy at moments. I don't know, for everything else, it was looking so beautiful and the music was great and the acting was on point, but I just felt like that brought it down a notch for me. Although some bits were completely awesome, there were just actual moments where it was obvious that it was computer generated. Sometimes this happens, friends. Sometimes you want to go in and love a film and you really do enjoy it, but it just isn't stand out to you. And for me, unfortunately, Last Night in Soho was not stand out, but I know so many of you guys loved it. I've seen your comments already, and I'm actually going to check out the trailer now because it is Universal, so I can do that because I really want to see how much it gives away. So we're going to jump into that in a moment. For my personal score for this film, I'm going to give it a 7. So it's not a bad score by any means. 7 out of 10 for personal. Originality, I'm still going to give it a 7. I think it's a quite original story. Again, especially with the structure. And for scare, I'm going to give it a 5. I don't think it was a very scary movie. It's more of a mystery and psychological in a way. But let's jump into the trailer before I talk a little bit about spoilers.
So what brings you down then?
I'm studying London College of Fashion.
Room is on the top floor.
It's perfect. I love it. If I could live any place and any time, I'd live here in London in the 60s.
That's some of the moments I absolutely loved with the blankets and just the moments that really get you into the transition. Obviously, this trailer does give away all of that I've tried not to keep in this video.
night, I saw something in my dreams. There was a girl.
And you are?
Sandy.
This is obviously what I meant by the music. It was just so good.
I got this kind of gift. I can see people, places, things others can't.
This is the closest most people...
It's weird because it's not really explained. It's kind of like drizzled in her obviously mental state, but then also that she does have this gift. It's not really brought in like that. I don't know if that voiceover is actually in the movie itself. I can't remember that bit. Her explaining it so straightforward.
will ever get to their dreams.
They're not just dreams.
Jack, I don't want to do this.
You think you can just walk away?
They really happened.
What did you see?
I mean, although you know it's going to happen that way, it's a mystery. It's a murder mystery. That's kind of unfortunate because it doesn't happen until like at least an hour into the film, halfway through the film, even more than that. So yeah, it is kind of unfortunate.
Do you believe in ghosts? I want to report a murder.
You witnessed the murder last night, but you believe this was a vision from the past.
The guy that killed her is still alive.
They really make it seem very straightforward in this when it's not. And I kind of liked that it wasn't straightforward because it was very curious, like where it was going. So it's very interesting. This is like putting it all on paper. I mean, that's what a trailer is, right? It's like 2 minutes condensed. But very interesting. They're not just like hinting at stuff happening. They're really going through everything that they are, really showing a lot.
I have to stop him.
Where are you going?
I know what you did.
The wall, the hands on the wall just before then, that's kind of what I meant by the CGI. I don't think anything's bad with it. It's just like not my style, or it all seems so interesting and to really believe that she goes back and she's in this time period. I think throwing that kind of CGI that makes it seem like very haunted house, it's just like a whole new element and a whole new side to it where I would have liked it to keep it realistic, but that's just personal preference.
I've done a lot of things. You're gonna have to be more specific, love.
You can't save me.
I do think it does give away a lot because a lot of this happens towards the end of the film. I just wish, like, I heard so much hype about it, I guess, and we've been waiting for so long. And maybe I should have watched the trailer and I would have had a better idea of what it was about. But I do think watching this trailer, I wouldn't have gone on such a blind journey to really have no idea what's going to happen, because I think I knew it was almost like someone said it was a time travel film, which it kind of is, it kind of isn't. And I think not knowing that, it was just really interesting to see where it was going. Let's jump into some hardcore spoilers. I think all of that, I haven't really spoiled anything that happens that wasn't in the trailer, but let's do that now. So spoiler alert. Okay, so my thing is, down on paper, I do think that the story is really cool and it's more of a haunting story, which I think is really interesting, than a time travel story. But like when I say the story down on paper, the fact that she lives in a house with this woman and she doesn't realize that that woman is the one, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, that she is seeing in these visions she's having about, you know, the 60s. I think that's a really cool concept. It's a very different play on spirits, and of course it's not her that's haunting them, it's actually, you know, the men that is haunting her, and of course there's clues to the fact that she, the old woman, who is Anya Taylor-Joy, isn't the good person. And they say that, you know, she's not who you think she is, kind of thing. But I feel like they had so much to lose with giving that away early on that they didn't really give you a fair shot at, you know, sprinkling that in. And I do think that it was quite obvious. I thought it was her several times in the film, just with things she would say, things about her hair, things about the music, things like that. I just thought it has to be her. Like, she has to be someone or just connected in a different way. It just felt so disjointed, and I knew that it had to be someone that she had already met for it to be a great reveal. But unfortunately, when they do the murder scene, that's kind of nipped in the bud, and so I figure, oh yeah, no, she's dead, so it can't be her. And it's the same thing with the cop, which you know, find out later is the cop, but then they say that he's handsy, and they really, what I'm trying to say is they really mislead you, and misleading you to reveal something that you don't have the information for is something that I talk about a lot, and I just don't think it's a clever reveal in that respect. I thought it was still enjoyable, and still enjoyable finding out that she had done this and killed all these people. It was unexpected, and it really does leave the viewer with this dilemma with, like, was she good or was she bad for believing in her, wanting to help her, Ellie? Like, was she on the right side or the wrong side? Because I did generally believe that Ellie would have left and not said anything if the house didn't burn down and, you know, the Great Inferno. Yeah, it's an interesting dilemma in itself, but that's just it. There's so many interesting dilemmas in this movie. They mention, you know, mental health and schizophrenia, and then they, you know, it's all about her mum and being tied to her mum and going back to London and proving herself. Then there's the whole bully situation. I'm sorry, that girl, she was a bitch, but she was so funny. It was just like, I really wanted her to get hers, you know what I mean? With the bully at the start. And she didn't even do it at the end. I just really wanted her to say one thing. That was something that felt like it just wasn't tied up for me. But yeah, there was just so many different aspects, and that's okay. It's cool to have side plots and it's cool to have layers. But I just wasn't sure what the message was at the end, because it even touched on a kind of Me Too situation with how they were treated, because that was technically the entertainment industry, you know, those live performers. So then it gets kind of switched on its head, and then it's like about mental illness, but it's not. And then also she has this gift where she just knows things, because from the start she knew that it was going to be good news. So I guess I was kind of left feeling I didn't really know what the whole message and meaning of the film was. And of course that's fine, a film doesn't always have to have a message or a meaning, but I just felt like there was no epic conclusion for me. In saying all of that, I did enjoy watching Last Night in Soho, and I'll definitely watch it again. 7 is not a bad score, but I just wanted to love it because I'd heard so many good things about it. I can't wait to read your comments about what you think about Last Night in Soho down below. Please leave, and please let me know what you rated it out of 10. If you can do a personal, originality, and scare score, I would love to hear it. Thanks for putting up with me and my talking. I know it's not ideal to hear an Australian accent, number 1, and number 2, a nasally one, which is the extreme. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here. If you haven't subscribed, I would love to have you here. We're nearly at 100k, which is insane, and I'd love to have you along for the journey. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and yes, I will be doing a wrap-up video. Obviously, with things just got moved around with all of these releases coming out, so I'll be doing that next, and I'll see you guys then. Stay spooky. Bye, friends.